Hi guys, it's Jake here at Canadian Cutting Edge, and today we're looking at an Enlan knife. This is the EW054. A nice big Persian kind of style looking not fixed blade, folding knife, liner lock. Nice big hefty kind of knife. It's a full-size blade for sure, a little bit big. If you're interested at all in the looks of this knife, like I am, I've been enjoying carrying this thing around quite a bit. It's just so very comfortable in the hand. And it flips quite well. For an Enlan, a lot of the Enlans don't have a good enough detent to flip, but this guy, look at that, no problem. If you're interested at all in this knife, stick around and we will do a full tabletop review. As I mentioned in the intro, this is a full-size folder, Enlan EW054. Let's get the specs right out of the way. We're starting off with 8CR13 MOV stainless steel, saber grind, like 3/4 flat grind, total flat top to the blade here, but it does almost look like a swept blade. It is just a regular flat blade. Let's get over the specs of this thing before we get on to the merits of it. The cutting edge, we've got this great big front choil to it, so the cutting edge starts right there to the tip. It's 3 3/4 inch, 9.5 centimeters. Nice big blade to cut with. The handle is right around 5 inches, which is about 12.5 centimeters. When you open the knife up, you're looking just shy of 9 inches, 8 7/8, which is like 22.5 centimeters. The thickness of the handle, it's over 1/2 inch, 0.58 inches thick, and that's like 1.5 centimeters. The blade is 3.5 millimeters thick, which is 0.13 inches, and the pocket clip, you've got about 1 inch of knife sticking out of the front of your pocket flap right there. That's about 2.5 centimeters, which is quite a lot sticking out, but it is your tip-up carry. You've got no option to put it anywhere else, right side tip-up only. You've got nice thick stainless steel liners, and you've got open pillar construction. The pocket clip is very functional. It works well. It feels good as far as the tension in the pocket to to take the knife out and to put the knife back in. It doesn't create hot spots in the hand. We've got some minor skeletonizing, as you can see right there, just on that one liner on the left side. The right side that has the liner lock doesn't have any skeletonizing. The pillars are nice 3D style pillars, hourglass kind of shape to them. Jimping in a number of different places on this knife. Lockup is right around halfway across, about 50%. The knife is comfortable in your basic, grip, but it's comfortable in reverse grips, other grips as well. I didn't really get too bad of hot spots in it. A little bit tiring for longer use because these corners are a little bit, with this jimping, they're not quite as soft as they should be. I think I'm going to run just some sandpaper across these edges just ever so slightly, just to take a little bit, make these jumps a little smoother back here. The jimping on the liner lock is very fine. The jimping on this thumb, it's the opposite of a swell. This little divot is quite good. It gives you lots of traction. No hot spot there. It's just these large ones back here that are a little bit too grippy, a little bit too much edge to them. So we got 6 ounces, which is 169 grams. So it's not a light knife, partially due to the fairly thick liners and the fairly minor skeletonization. G10 isn't light either, so they could have gone with a little bit thinner liners, a little bit thinner G10 maybe. I like the blade stock as thick as it is. because the 3/4 grind here is quite good. It's a really nice slicer. I like sneaking up on the blade like this with your index finger, and your thumb gets into this dip here. They've chamfered the leading edge here 2/3 of the way up the tip. You can see it in that shot right there, how the chamfering ends here, and then it becomes a flat again. That's really good for sneaking up close, and so your thumb can really help out without getting sore, without it getting hot spots on it, to do some finer cutting. That's a really good touch there. The big back swell back here helps fill in the palm of the hand when you're using it. That feels really good. The thumb studs have this little, those little lines across the top of them. That's just decorative. It doesn't really change that much, but you can use your thumbs to activate the knife instead of using a flipper. Since this flipper works really well, I just tend to use the flipper. But if you were in a jurisdiction where this flipper was illegal, you could always grind that sucker down, and you'd still have a very functional knife. And the thumb studs will, actuate the knife very well. The other good thing about the thumb studs is that they're far enough back, really close to the pivot point, so that when you've got the blade deployed, they are further back than the cutting edge starts right there. So they'll never get in the way for when you're slicing things. I really like that touch. You've got enough flat area on this blade so that you've got a Lansky or similar system where you clamp onto the blade to sharpen it. It can do that, no problem. And having that really flat top, your other systems where you rest the spine against something to sharpen, that works really well here as well. The blade centering is a little bit off to one side. Not bad. You've got one brass and one nylon washer in this one. So you can see that nylon washer right there quite easily. It's a large washer on that side and a brass washer on the other side. I do have two of these knives. One of them that I got came with the blade centering quite a bit off, and I ended up putting two washers in on one side from my stock of washers. I've got some that are really, really thin, and I just helped offset the space for the pivot there, and that really made it work really well. If you're an avid collector, you're probably going to get into collecting some washers of different sizes and stuff that you can use to make adjustments to some of your knives, especially if you're collecting budget knives, because budget knives are not always tuned perfectly. And so you tune them yourself. It's part of the fun of being in the knife hobby, at least in my opinion it is. Let's take a look at what else we got here. I really like that you've got these screws that are all flush with the surface. But they didn't do it with the pocket clip screws for some reason. But I like that they're nice and flush with the surface everywhere else. That's a good touch. The pivot adjusting screw here, you can just use a large flat screwdriver. So that's basically all that you can use in there. So it looks sort of proprietary-ish, but it really isn't. You can just use a flat driver. I really like this knife. It's comfortable. I really like this sneak up choil. That's what I'm calling them. It really helps with the close-up cutting. Let's see how well this knife cuts. Yeah, not that great, eh? Yeah, it's okay. But, I've used it a bit. Enlans don't always come that terribly sharp from the factory, so you usually have to end up, sharpening them. I don't put down the value of a knife based on how sharp it comes from the factory. I'm much more concerned with the type of steel that it is, so that I know, can I get it sharp? And once it's sharp, is it going to be a good steel? Will it maintain its edge and everything? 8CR13 MOV, the history that I've had with Enlan, it's a decent steel. It's a good budget steel for them. Once I've sharpened it up, it's going to be fine. It's not going to be a super steel, no, not by any stretch, but it'll keep an edge for a reasonable amount of time. and I'll just have to hone it and strop it every once in a while and take care of it. And it's going to be an edge that it's very functional for a budget blade, so I don't mind it at all. Here's 2 layers of paracord. You can zip through that without too much of a problem, and cut through that. It's a proper paracord. Oops, sorry about that extra noise. It's a reasonable knife. The main thing that draws me to this knife is the shape, the styling. And what are the negatives? I don't really like this pocket clip being as far down the knife as it is. I wish they would have put it up closer to the end. I do like a little bit sticking out of my pocket. It makes it easier to pull out of my pocket, especially this jimping on both sides of it. Make it really easy to grab and pull out of your pocket. So 1 inch is a little too much. I wish it, maybe I had 1/2 inch sticking out. Another negative is, I had to adjust that one on the pivot. This one's fine. The other one had to be adjusted. Other negative, the sharpness on this jimping here, it's not that good to the touch. Positives, looks really good. It's a sharp looking knife in the terms of, it's an attractive looking knife. I really like this choil up here to sneak up. It also functions really well as a sharpener's choil, so when you sharpen this knife, you'll come right to the end there and it's going to look good. The blade styling, the shape here, it's very attractive. I like how the flipper works. Great. And then you've got the thumb stud option if you want to use it. Nice solid lockup. There's no lock stick to it at all. Open pillar construction, I like that. It looks good. Fit and finish is pretty good. It's not perfect fit and finish. It's an 1758 or something like that US dollar knife, and for under $20, I think this is a buy. It's a good knife. If you like this video, please click on like. Please share with your friends. Subscribe, and I've got some more giveaways coming up at the end of March. Thank you so much for commenting and interacting on the channel. That's what I like the best of being a knife reviewer. And remember, always cut towards your chum and not your thumb.